So we're trying to learn to be content. And I'll tell you, talking about these things, for me anyway, is a lot like walking up to a wolf and kicking him in his side while he's eating his lunch. Because there are false teachers out there and false prophets and wolves that are savage, and they're doing nothing but eating and devouring the sheep. They have no love, care, concern for the sheep. And this is why they teach the way they do. And one of the things that we understand from the Word is that they teach and speak that godliness is a means for gain, for self-promotion, self-fulfillment, getting what you want out of life, and so on and so forth. And that is not conducive for sound doctrine from Christ anyway. And so wolves don't like this. They want people to be singled out so that they can devour them. They want them downtrodden. They want them weak, moved from the flock, so to speak, so they can devour them. And so they tell them lies to get them to believing these lies so that they can devour them. But anyway, so that they'll end up leaving the faith and becoming totally disillusioned, as we've said in other videos. But so contentment, to continue, is really an act of worship. It is saying to God, your Father, I love you. I have enough. Thank you for what you've brought me and where you've brought me right now, today. Whatever the circumstance is, whatever the place is. And yes, these words are easier said than lived out. They are. But it's simply the truth anyway, based on the Word. And Paul said these words over there in Philippians. And I'm just wondering, I'm going to ask a question. How can we be like Paul? How can we imitate Paul? You know, he said over there in 1 Corinthians, he said, imitate me as I imitate Christ. And that was inspired words from the Holy Spirit. So imitating Paul would be a good thing. And we learn in Philippians 4, he said, verse 11, I believe it was, he said, not that I speak in regard to want or need, talking about them doing something for him while he's in prison there. He says, for I have learned in whatever state I am to be content. He said, I have learned to be abased, to be without. He said, I've learned to abound. I've learned to be full, and I've learned to be hungry. Then he repeats abound. He said, I have learned how to abound. But also, just so we would get it, he said, I have learned to suffer need. Paul suffered need. If you've ever looked at the life of Paul, specifically in the book of Acts, but you can see it in his letters too, that Paul didn't have it all gravy and biscuits. He went through some stuff. He suffered shipwreck and was a night and a day in the deep. You know what's in the deep? Sharks and bigger animals than you that want you for their lunch. He had been stoned and left for dead. He bared in his body stripes where he had been whipped. This man was a true hero of the faith. You know, a lot of people, they look in the back of their Bible, they see those missionary journeys, they're called. If you read the book of Acts, you'll see that they were not what we would think of in our day as missionary journeys. These were Paul on the run. These were Paul being ordered to go here or go there. These were Paul being chased and hunted so that they could kill him like they did the Messiah. These were not places, and these were not places that were necessarily planned out and vacations like a lot of people that go on missionary journeys now experience. Paul went through it in what would appear to be a negative way. And just read it for yourself. But as we look at the life of Paul, and he says in Philippians, he said, I have learned to be content. How did he learn that? Well, we see that with Paul, the way he learned it, he went through it. The good and the bad. And it seems like more bad than good, to be honest with you. Just my opinion, but he had life lessons. He had to experience challenges and circumstances. He had to learn how to live without and with, and so on and so forth. And so we have to learn these things. And, you know, if you have children, you people that have kids, y'all understand this, that kids have to learn contentment. I'm telling you, you can tell the kids that have learned contentment, and you can tell them that haven't. Oh, remember the widows, the orphans, and the poor, will you? Give it to them. Picking it up on the next video.